September 10th, 2024. Do you guys want to do official roll call?
That's up to you.
Okay. There are 3 members in attendance, so we recognize that we do have a quorum today at this meeting. We have one set of minutes to approve, the January 9th, 2024 minutes. If everybody has had a chance to take a look at those, I'll open it up to a motion for approval.
I motion to approve.
A second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, minutes are approved. Moving on to reports. From a financial standpoint, I think we have $60,000 available in our budget this year.
That's correct. You have not distributed any funds at this time?
Okay, great. Are there any other reports from the town?
Not from our end, no.
Okay, great. Old business. Anybody have any old business to discuss?
No.
Okay, hearing none, moving on to new business. We've got an applicant, the Cohatch North High Brewing, looking to do an enclosure on the patio. Do we have a representative here today for them? Okay, if you guys would step up to the microphone, introduce yourself, give your address, and then kind of describe the project to us, please. And I think when you click, that's the original submittal, and then the 3 images below were the new images.
I'm Ross Atterbury from the Smart Pergola, representing North High today. I live at 14942 Bridlewood Drive in Carmel.
Great.
Better?
I'm Michelle Ayers. I'm with the Smart Pergola as well.
Great.
So the proposal is North High Brewing has an existing outside patio. It is covered on the roof. It is heated and sprinkled, but it is not enclosed on the sides. And what they're interested in having is a motorized retractable drop screen for those openings to fully enclose it. Now, as part of that enclosure, obviously we'll seal off egress, so they're going to have new permanent doors with transoms, emergency panic bars for egress, things like that, on 2 sides of that. So those would stay in place permanently, and then the clear vinyl drops would retract seasonally or daily as the weather conditions dictate. So if it's freezing cold, they'll be down most of the time. If it's just windy or rainy or something like that, they'd be down fully or partially as needed to block that weather condition and then back up. So the idea is to keep that space as open as possible. They like that feel right now, but they do want to be able to seat it year round.
Great. Any other information?
The color of that we were hoping to have is the white screen tracks. There's a slightly off-white color to the facade there. It can be custom colored if needed. Obviously there's some added cost to that, so the restaurant would avoid that if they can. I think the white's pretty close to that color. The wooden balustrades, particularly across that western facade, would stay in place. So when the vinyl is all the way up, you'd still have that same look to the face of the building.
Just to clarify on the permanent enclosures.
Yes.
I see one that is facing the north, and the other one would be on the north side where I can see the exit sign. And I'm guessing the other one is kind of around on the east side that is opposite.
Yeah, one of the images
You
from the
can-
other, it shows it.
Yeah.
It's on the door that kind of
Faces the
their
other
entry
entrance,
door, so it's
yeah.
not really visible.
Okay. And that would the,
We've got some updated copies for
May I
that.
share these?
Yep,
Sure.
absolutely.
These are updated renderings that were issued just this month.
Okay. And are those permanent enclosures, are they like of a vinyl or glass or?
Well, that's standard storefront doors, so they'd be aluminum tracks, glass panels, standard door with panic bar.
But what about the surrounding
Yeah, it's
area
all
of the
glass.
doors? It's all
Around
glass?
the- yeah.
Okay.
When you come up that ramp.
That was one of the things that Ron Lips had pointed out, to return to your east side, north side question. The
basically
north side's correct,
closed.
the other one would be on the south side because of that staircase there.
Yeah.
We're needing to have a landing area in front of the doorway, and there's not enough space on the east side.
Okay.
Do you have kind of an approximate value for the upgrade to have the custom color?
I believe it's somewhere in the realm of maybe $1,500 or something like that.
Yeah. And then on those, on the drop-down panels, it looks like there's kind of a black border around the edge of it when the vinyl comes down.
Yes.
Okay. And then on the bottom of it, is there a big wide band of black?
There is.
Okay.
So there's two reasons for that.
Mhm.
One is that when it's down, it's basically protecting from the chair height up, so everything below the tables, right, is concealed there. And when it is partially down, you have the ability to block the sun setting behind the building across the street from the patron's eyes. So again, it's a temporary thing based upon the condition at the time, but it would give them the ability to, if they're seating at dinner and people are being blinded by the setting sun, to partially drop those and block that sun, and then put them back up after sunset.
And that's a solid black, right? That's
It
not,
is.
yeah. And is there options for that to be white?
Yes.
But that's not a physical requirement, like the black on the bottom could be smaller too. It was a choice to make it the wider
could.
so that it could be a screen.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, they get better sun protection by having that wider.
yeah.
My guess is that they'll keep all that patio furniture out
Yeah.
year-round, so, you know, that'll block some of that
Yeah.
black.
So I guess, yeah, some of my initial comments for the committee to think about would be to have the white match, because a white on an off-white was gonna look pretty bad. And so to do the custom color to match would be my recommendation. And,
The existing trim.
yeah, match the existing trim. And I wonder if we would be able to, you know, utilize some of our funds to pay for that upgrade
Okay.
as an option.
Do we have a cost on that?
I said about $1,500.
Yeah, I can get it exact, but
Yeah.
that's pretty typical of what we do.
And are you talking the frame just for the permanent?
The frame, yeah, the permanent frame that goes around the opening, and
Okay.
then the track at the top.
Okay.
Well, and this, what is the material for this construction?
Oh, yeah, I'll get to that.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And then the second thing is to have the black perimeter of the vinyl be a white color, because it's just the black, I just don't like that. It doesn't kind of match with the kind of light, airy feel of the patio, as well as kind of the building itself. And then
Well, does that material come in,
white.
so is that gonna be a white against this,
Well, I think that would end up being, like, the black that if you guys just have standard colors on that, so that black perimeter if we went with the white, it would be a white,
Yes.
right? And you guys don't have,
I
Is
can
it- is there
check on the
another
samples.
option?
I think there's an almond,
Okay.
but I'd have to
yeah, it'd be,
pull my samples.
yeah, we'd probably want to take a look at those samples on site and just see.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you guys have those samples, you know, we can meet you out there and take a look at it.
Okay. Yeah, I have some in the car, but they'd be probably easier, like you said, to look at on site.
Yeah, okay.
Were the colors pre-selected by as a suggestion from your company or by the owner or a combination?
Combination.
Okay.
It was a suggestion by us, and they didn't have any objection to it, so that's what we
Okay.
proceeded with for the renderings. but-
Yeah. And then, you guys, I personally do have a problem with the solid bottom on it, because the whole idea of the patio and the openness, and so when a vinyl screen comes down, if it's clear, I don't really mind that so much, because you can still see railings and furniture, people, and the whole activity. When you put that band at the bottom, you're basically kind of blocking that off, which kind of gets away from the whole feel of kind of the outdoor patio.
Well, but doesn't it disrupt their opportunity to have for year-round?
No, it's this solid panel on the bottom is all I'm talking about.
Yeah, but okay, so you'd like to see that be,
No, have it be clear.
oh, just
Instead
clear?
of being a solid opaque color for the bottom section,
Right.
just let the clear go all the way down to the ground.
But is this a screen material?
Now, this is all clear vinyl,
Oh, that's all clear vinyl.
right? And then there's an opaque,
yeah,
perimeter
sure.
around it, and I'd like to see the clear go all the way down to the ground, so it still has the same feel, doesn't feel like they put low wall around it.
And so the weight construction keeps this as very taut, so you know, as that vinyl ages, it's not going to be.
Yeah, it goes down these tracks on the
Yeah, so
side,
it's-
down
yeah.
to the floor, yeah.
Yeah, it's. Yeah, when we look at those two permanent enclosures.
Yeah, and then,
One thing that the
yeah.
rendering doesn't make perfectly clear, because we're trying to showcase the vinyls.
Uh-huh.
There is a seating area in front of that. So I appreciate your point with the clear going to the floor to make
Yeah.
it more open. But that is not necessarily the street view. We've taken out the obstructions so that you can see what we were proposing.
Yeah.
But in between the street and that vinyl, there's another double row of tables.
Right.
And a fence, and then behind that double row, there are planter boxes.
Yeah.
So when it goes down, it's not as though you'll see through the people dining in that area's feet. They're still obstructed by the fence, the table, and the planters.
Yeah, well, yeah, when you're walking down the street, your head's way above the planters and you are
True,
looking
yes,
at
from the
that.
sidewalk you can see.
And there won't be people sitting at those tables, because if the vinyl's down, it's because the weather's inclement, so there's not anybody sitting out there. In fact, they probably won't have the tables out there in the winter time, so when the vinyl's down, that is what you see. And then, just to backtrack a little bit, I love the idea. I want this to happen. We love sitting out there. To be able to use it year-round is great. So, love the idea, just want to make sure it looks good. And then on the aluminum storefront, once again, we would want that to, be the same kind of custom color to match the columns, so it ties in. I would like the two side lights on the side, the horizontal, probably to line up kind of at railing height or similar to, like where the push-pull bar is going to be for the door versus being down low.
Oh, sure. Yep. That may be able to be removed entirely.
We'd like to
That's-
keep it on there from a
Okay.
code perspective, as far as like people not running into it, right? I think it's like max 36 inches above grade per code to kind of protect people.
Okay, you're referring to the cross rails right there?
Yeah, the two bottom ones,
Yeah.
so bring them
Push
up.
them up to where the push bar is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. And then, on the transom up above, to get rid of that secondary horizontal one there in the middle, and just
Yep.
let it be clear all the way up.
Okay.
So kind of get a little bit better.
A cleaner
patterning.
line.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys have any ideas?
I'm kind of curious what is around the corner from this, because isn't there another,
Yeah, so, when you come out the door of the restaurant, you go down the stairs to the patio, is that just gonna be wide open in that area?
It would be another retractable vinyl.
oh,
Okay.
it wouldn't be another permanent closure?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know the servers come in and out of there constantly, so it'd be up to
Yeah.
them, I guess, if they wanna go around and go through that door or keep the vinyl
And,
down.
Yeah, we talked to
Yeah.
him about that. That was in regard to Ron's comments about the need for a landing in between
Mhm.
doorways. So the restaurant is okay with the servers having to be sort of in the sunlight for a second.
Yeah,
It's
getting wet.
the nature of that particular property. We looked at it a few different
Yeah.
ways. There's not really a way to get that landing area in,
Mhm.
either at the top or the bottom of the staircase, without doing considerable renovation of that space. So when the other vinyls are down, they would just put a retractable vinyl on that east side, and you'd have to go out and then back in.
Mhm.
So that would be perpendicular to this last,
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah. So, from a procedural standpoint, I think we can make a motion kind of with these recommended changes. From a financial perspective, I'm assuming the owners of the property would need to make an application to ZARC if they wanted additional monies towards funding the project. There would have to be a formal application.
Yeah, they would just have to fill out the application again. I mean, we can obviously expedite it because we would go from parts 1 and 2, we could, if you approved it today, it would be done. And then just after installation, you'd have to go out, verify it's done, and sign off on it.
Mhm.
But what is do we have the final figure now?
No, we don't.
I don't see it anywhere.
Yeah, I
So
think.
that would be part of the application, but
Mhm.
there, at this point, we wouldn't know what you'd be approving. Like, you wouldn't know how
Oh,
much
yeah.
you're approving to,
I think if they wanted to apply for funding, we would have to review that to see if for its appropriateness, the costs, et cetera, which would have to happen at the next monthly meeting, so that would be up to them as far as if they would like to seek funding, they would need to follow the standard
Mhm.
process, and we would have to hear it as a committee at the next meeting.
yes. And there are some limitations on how much you can fund. I believe there are, let me try to find it. Up to 40% of qualified project expenses not to exceed 25,000.
Yeah, yep. So that's just something to convey to the ownership if they would like assistance with the funding of this. Part of what our committee does is, kind of weigh in on the design, right? But a lot of times there's costs associated with our recommendations, and therefore we provide 40% of the cost of those renovations kind of as an incentive to work with us. And so while them being here today is a requirement of the past funding, I think we're open to more funding if, they're interested in that. But they would have to come back next month for that. And so timing-wise, I'm not sure if that would work for them.
Right. To be clear, is that 40% reimbursement of the cost of upgrading the color to match, or is it?
Well, as a
the
committee-
cost of enclosing the,
Yeah, so as a
Full
committee,
area.
we would have to discuss what we think is appropriate, but I would recommend submitting for the entire project.
okay.
And I don't know that we would
Is there an estimate for the entire project?
Have we seen any numbers?
no, because they're not
No.
asking for any money today.
Is it okay to ask if there's an estimate?
Oh,
Just
sure,
to get an
absolutely,
idea
yeah.
of, what we have, and what potentially we could go forward with? And at this point, the only upgrade we're asking for is the paint color, correct?
Paint color on the metal and, yeah. Well, and the paint color on the aluminum storefront as well.
I think you were also talking about the color of the vinyl.
Right. but I
Yeah,
don't know
that
if
was the
that's an
standard
upgrade.
color, so there wouldn't be a cost with that.
So for the motorized drops, not including the 2 storefront doors, we're about 26,000.
Okay.
Okay. And what about the storefront
So,
doors?
Different companies providing those, but I could get that number for you.
Okay,
But just as a general range as to where we are, they might be, I think they're, 35, 4,000, something like, per door.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Per
About
door would be
3,500 to
what?
4,000, I think, is
Okay.
about what the cost of a door and side light is.
Yeah.
But like I say, I could get that exact for you. So
Okay.
you have that number.
So we might be looking at anywhere from $35,000 to $40,000 for the entire project?
That sounds about right, yes.
Okay.
Mhm. So,
And do they have a timeline, the owner?
we're about 8 weeks of fabrication time for being
Okay.
able to install that. It's maybe 2-3 days to install it.
And that includes the
So,
storefronts from the sub?
That's for the vinyls. The storefronts would be really similar to that, but it's hard for me to provide an exact date on that since we're not.
And does the
providing-
owner have a timeline that he would like to have these installed? ASAP, I'm sure. That's all owners request.
The day before he needs them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so we,
Is this all
yep.
vinyl?
yeah.
What, are
No,
these
so-
gonna
so-
be glass?
Yes.
Glass?
Yes, this is glass, yeah. We'd also, yeah, and it's gonna be clear glass.
Correct.
Not tinted
Correct.
glass. Yeah, cool. All right, so we aren't allowed to contribute monies to things that, have already been ordered or are in place. So that's just another thing to convey to the owner, that if they want our funding.
That's a fair point. So, right, so it does have to be
So it's a
for
timing
funding,
issue
not for
for them.
reimbursement. You can't apply for reimbursement for a project that's already underway.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of been the standard so far, is that we're part of the planning process. Right. So, the intent today was to get approval for this from a design standpoint, which I think we're prepared to do with some of these modifications. Secondarily to that, we're just bringing up that there would be opportunity for them to apply for funding for the project, but, the parameters are gonna be timeline. And I can't, we're not voting on that today, so I can't say what exactly would get covered, what the whole committee, would approve. It's just they have an opportunity to apply and allow us to review it. Does that
And then
sound
the
fair?
next opportunity for that review and approval would be our next meeting,
Yes.
which is October,
It's the second Tuesday of every month.
Yeah.
So,
7th?
8th?
Okay.
So it'd be the 8th. If this is something that we wanted to expedite, you are also always welcome to schedule a special meeting.
Okay. All right. So I would guess if we received an application
With urgency.
with urgency, you would let the committee know, and then we could convene a special meeting.
Yes, that's something that you have the option to do if you wanted to pursue that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. And the reason I just brought that up is because the things we're suggesting are gonna cost them more money, and kind of the intent of us is to improve the, projects that occur in the village. And so when we cause owners to incur more costs, it's nice to be able to help fund that, because that is kind of our mission.
So in reference to the requested custom color, does that, obviously it takes a little bit more time because people need to approve it and all that stuff. Do you have an idea of the timeline that would take?
I have a suggested color, and it is readily available, so that won't add timeline to it, it's just the approval timeline.
Okay,
The,
so it's not necessarily an exact match based on what the surrounding trim was painted. It's actually another option color in your offerings, but it's just considered custom?
correct. So there are certain RAL decks that have the sort of universal colors, right?
Right.
And I'm kind of untrusting of those because they're on paper and our stuff's on
Exactly.
metal. As it happens, when I was there kind of flipping through things, that particular color, being an off-white, was one that we had previously ordered from another customer. So I had a metal sample of that, and I was holding it up, and it looks extremely close. Now, to answer your question, there are some places like PPG Porter Paints, I believe is one of them, that sells both liquid paint and powder coating. And if you take them a sample of the liquid paint, they'll send it to their powder coating line and produce a color that is exactly that, but there's some back and forth, and that gets into quite a bit more time.
Right.
So that's probably 3 to 6 months, depending on how exact you want to get them to temper it. But like I said, looking at the metal chip that I had, it's extremely close. So,
And that would be just for the trim of the awnings?
yeah, for the
The
metal parts.
housing?
Yep.
Okay, what about for the storefronts? What are our options
Same.
there? Same?
Yeah,
Okay.
that comes in raw mill finish aluminum that we powder coated.
Okay.
Actually, a place in Plainfield, so I can provide them the same powder and it'll match.
Okay. Okay. All right.
All right. So, somebody wants to make a motion?
Oh,
These are the items that we suggested. The custom color for the metal frame to match the paint.
White
The white
border
border instead of black, color to be determined on site. Remove solid panel on the bottom of the vinyl, and custom color for the aluminum storefront to match the paint.
Okay, I'll move it with these exceptions or additions to.
What's the technical term with the, is it with the
conditional approvals.
conditional? Okay.
Conditional approval of these changes. Custom color to match the, for the metal framework to match. White border instead of black, determine if it should be white or almond on site. Remove solid panel on the bottom of the vinyl. And custom color for the aluminum storefronts to match existing paint.
Do
What
we have
about relocation of the interior frames for the permanent storefront?
Yep.
Okay.
So,
Oh, yeah, and the relocations of the crossbars to match.
Yes.
And/or
Yes.
removal?
Well, yeah,
Because there's
and-
one up.
Or removal, yeah. Removal would be
Yeah,
better.
yep.
Removal of them.
Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you guys very much for your time. Definitely love the project. Excited to have more time outside at that location, so thank you.
Thank you all very much.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Are these for us to keep?
If you'd like
So
one.
this is where the,
Would you be able to send those as well to me, just so we can have them on the digital agenda?
Absolutely. I think I did last night, but you're
I don't
welcome
know
to
if they
have
put them
a
inside or
hard
if they
copy.
actually
I
pull
can
them
send them to you
outside,
again.
honestly. I think they may be outside.
If you
of it.
There's a
what do you
link.
think those will come to the
Uh,
office?
Oh,
there's a link
yep,
from
I
an
found it.
email late-
I just hadn't had a chance to go through my emails yet.
That's
No worries.
Sure. Yeah. All right. All right, are there, in other business, there's an item called program discussion?
This is just a general topic. If you all want, because I know we've kind of bantered about this before. At this point, your program is fairly limited to the village and to very small confines. I don't know if you all had an interest in expanding the parameters of your program at all in any way, whether that's what you can do with the funds, if you want it to be a larger area. I know this would have to be a discussion with potentially town council since they are the one funding all of this through the food and beverage fund. But I didn't know if that's something you all wanted to explore further or not.
Yeah, so we'd previously looked at expanding our boundaries and better defining our boundaries, because right now there's some language that says contiguous to, which is a little bit of a gray area. And due to some resistance, we dropped that. So I think at this time we wouldn't be interested in starting that process again. As far as what we're allowed to utilize our funds for, in the past, I think we would probably be open to improvements to common areas and features kind of within our boundaries, whether it be things we've talked about, you know, lighting or plantings or seating, things like that. I think we would be open to being able to utilize our funds for things like that, because we do see that as a benefit to the district, which could help drive more business and create more income for the town.
Okay. I will look into that and see, maybe we can put a proposal together, and if you all are okay with it, we can then progress forward to town council.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Sound good?
Oh, yeah. If we could have the opportunity to use this for other things, we're running out of properties, or the properties are slowing down. And we had at one time mentioned dumpster enclosures for along First Street to help from a visual standpoint. Little things like that that can be helpful.
So
Right
anything
now
that would
we're-
raise the aesthetics of the village.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right, we're trying to improve the user experience.
I guess that would exclude artwork, because that falls into another
Well, so there are
jurisdiction.
there are different committees, like the Parks Department,
Yeah, and the
Community Redevelopment, things
Cultural
like that.
district.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pizzazz, et cetera, that do have incentives
Right.
and programs like that already, so we don't want to cross over with that, but I think there are gaps that aren't being addressed.
There are gaps, and that's something that we are going to explore with some other organizations. I do know that there is going to be some form of summit that the chamber is going to help head. And the CDC is one of those organizations that's looking to see how can they expand moving forward. Now that they are a 501c3, they have more opportunities to receive funding and have a broader impact, now that they would not be limited to hyper-specific programming, since their only funding source currently is coming from the Redevelopment Commission.
Okay, and that would be the, what community, what?
Community Development Corporation.
Okay. All
Yeah, I
right.
think what you may be referring to is the chambers we're applying for Main Street USA designation.
Oh, okay, cool.
And within that Main Street USA, as we progress within that from state to national, there are opportunities for
Great.
funding.
What's the
Grant
timeline
opportunity.
process of that, do you think?
Oh, it's 3 to 5 years.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
from the
what,
time that we
how long are you
finish.
into
We
it?
we will submit our application to the state next month, and
Okay.
probably then know at the end of the first of the year if we're approved, which hopefully we should be. And then from there, we start the process of,
So you're in like first year of it?
yeah.
Okay.
We will be in 2025, we hope.
Okay.
But, within that, it came through the chamber because the chamber has had a 501c3 that we could lock onto rather quickly.
Okay. All right, great.
All
Well,
right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, meeting is adjourned. Thank you guys very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.